Hope everybody's having a great Friday. Welcome to HB RV Lifestyle, the podcast. I'm the host, the Honey Badger, here to give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business, as well as other things. Today is going to be a very strong episode because there's so much going on with the stock market. There's so much going on in the repossession market of vehicles. You have a lot going on in the RV industry, the RV community. You have a lot going on in the commercial real estate industry. There's just a lot going on right now. And it's going to turn on its head really soon and turn into a massive, good morning, Mike Adams. It's going to turn into a massive government and taxpayer bailout. Merry Christmas, Theo. Guys, I don't know if anybody can see it, because last night I got into a heated conversation that was a good type of heated conversation with a few people, and the heated conversation is we're going to have a 2008 2009 type of crash. Prices, good morning, Paul Stewart, prices are going to go absolutely bonkers crazy. Everybody still believes this. So what you're going to see over the next, I'm just restarting my phone, what you're going to see over the next 4 to 5 months is you're going to see an economy that's not going to do well. Okay, let's go backwards for a minute. COVID sent everything through the roof. Joe Biden, you can blame him if you want. That's up to you. But the reality is we overspent. Okay, so you had a lot of people that went out and bought Chevy 3500 trucks, GMC Denali 3500s, Cadillac Escalades. And dealerships, car dealerships specifically, were charging in excess of $10,000 to $100,000 over sticker price on these vehicles from around mid-2020 to about mid-2022, and then it slowly leveled off. So for about a 2-year period, every car, truck, and vehicle that was bought in the auto industry was bought above sticker price. Now, what's interesting is the lenders and the dealers took advantage of the lending because interest rates were low. And basically people were putting $5,000 down, $10,000 down, $15,000 down, and the dealers were rolling all this money up to 120% of sticker into the loan. So imagine that you financed with no trade-in a Ford F-250 diesel back in 2021, and you financed 119 to 120% of the sticker price. Not of invoice, but of the sticker price. And the only thing you covered with your down payment was more than likely a part of the sales tax and license fees. So what happened is, and this is where the government bailout is going to happen, okay? Now, you go to a Ram dealership as an example, they're way discounted below sticker price. So let's say you paid $30,000 over sticker in 2021 for a brand new Ram 2500, and let's say that sticker price and that selling price was $130,000 as an example. And now that same truck, brand new, is selling for around 85 grand, brand new. What did that do to the person's value of their 2021 Ram? So they probably owe still 100 grand, and they're probably getting buy bids for around 45. So what do these people do? Well, these folks, they go out and buy a second car or another truck, and they voluntarily repossess the old one. Because when you're $40,000, $50,000 upside down in a trade in the car industry, there's no getting out of it without writing a big check. Okay, so what do these people do? They voluntarily repossess the truck. Same thing in the RV industry. Same thing in the boat industry. I just got off the phone 2 days ago with a guy that repossessed his Keystone, Montana. He bought it in late 2020, paid sticker for it. Won't tell you what dealer. It wasn't it wasn't west of the Mississippi. It was on the East Coast. Paid full sticker. Put down $25,000. Went to go trade it in to go to a small motorhome. Found out he's $42,000 upside down in his Montana after 4 years. Why? Because that Montana is now being sold for between 30 and 38% off MSRP. Brand new. So what did he do? He voluntarily repossesses it. He's not going to write a check for $42,000 more than he already has. He'd rather go buy something cash and let that Montana go. So when you tell me in the comments, when you tell me in my email, when you tell me in my DMs that Bank of America and Wells Fargo and Ally Financial and BMO and all these places, their yards, their repossession yards are full of cars and full of trucks and full of RVs. This is true. And I'll go one step further, because part of the heated conversations yesterday was with someone that works on the auction side of the industries. This young lady and I have had a good business relationship for about 9 years. The last 3 auctions that she has been a part of, over 50 to 70 motorhomes have gone through that auction. That's 150 to 210 units. And only 4 were bought and actually done and met the reserve the bank wanted. So the bank is severely upside down in these motorhomes. So what do? They're going to ask the government for a taxpayer bailout. And it's not going to be the same thing it was in 08-09. They're going to do it through the military, through FEMA, through state agencies, county and city agencies, township agencies. They're going to do it through emergency management services and the military. They're going to bail them out, the banks. Because if the banks send those motorhomes, these trucks, these cars through the auction, dealerships are going to want to pay way back of wholesale book because of the market right now. They got to make the prices attractive on used. They don't want to bury themselves in used. AKA, look at what Camping World's doing. Camping World did a major dump Most of their losses have come with their used program that they bought into 2 years ago. So what it's doing and what it's going to do is, remember, everybody says supply and demand. It's going to even out the supply and demand of cars and RVs by middle of next year, and boats. What the government's going to do with all this stuff, I have no idea. And it's going to be so quiet. It's going to be hidden in one of these stimulus package bills. It's going to be funding, let's say they have an emergency bill that they're going to pass through Congress for emergency services and the military. And then all of a sudden, several months later, you're going to see all these auction lots, all these repo lots empty. Taxpayer dollars are going to bail us out of this massive voluntary repossession. So you guys have to understand the government will pay retail book for a car, a truck, a van, an RV, a boat. They'll pay retail. So let's just say, for example, let's say the bank on a Chevy 2500 HD, let's say they're upside down retail 10 grand with the loan and upside down $30,000 wholesale. Who are they going to deal with? They're going to deal with the 10 grand, not the 30. So this is why auctions, if you go look at all these guys that are influencers on the car side of the industry, or the car industry side of things, they all are telling you that nothing is being sold at the auction. They're going through the auction, but hardly anybody is meeting the reserve the bank is requiring. They're bidding on the cars, but the bank's turning down the bids because it hasn't met the reserve requirement that they're looking for. So banks are looking for an alternative. And that alternative is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. They're going to bail out the whole thing. And the government, what the government's going to do is, this is where the deal is going to come from, though. So let's talk about where the deal is right now. The deal will be in 10 years, if you want to wait 10 years, the government will throw all that inventory on the open market through federal auctions, and dealers will buy that inventory and sell it. The other deal that's going to happen is, as FEMA gets all this new inventory from the banks, or new-ish inventory from the banks for hurricane shelter, fire, etc., they're going to take their old inventory that's aged out to 10 years and they're going to auction that off through federal auctions. And again, dealers will go buy that stuff and resell it. So that's where the deal is going to be. If you're so worried about getting ripped off that you got to buy something pennies on the dollar, you're going to buy something probably 10, 12, 15 years old that's going to be auctioned, that's been used in hurricane relief, that's been used in fire relief, that's been used in military operations, that's been used in National Guard operations. As long as you don't care about that, and you don't care about the wear and tear that's been put on that RV, put on that truck, put on that Jeep, you could buy stuff from the federal auctions and stuff for pennies on the dollar compared to what they sold brand new. I keep on telling you guys, every day I come on here and tell you we're at the bottom. And if you don't believe it, and I'm not talking about the whole economy is at the bottom, the vehicle market is at the bottom. It can't go any further down. Because if it does, it's Armageddon. If the banks allow themselves, if the government and us taxpayers don't bail out this situation that we caused, by the way, then we will be so far bad, it would be a Great Depression. There would be, you would have a mass voluntary repossession where not only do you have all these vehicles that'll be repossessed, but there'll be nobody left to buy them. Well, I saved up my cash ready for that. Your cash will mean nothing by then. Yeah, you got yourself a hell of a deal on a truck, but does it mean you got a job? I mean, if you want unemployment to reach the levels that they were in 08 and 9 or during the Great Depression in the 20s and 30s, more power to you. If that's what you want, because you got to get the deal of a lifetime before you commit to building memories, God bless you. I don't wish that on anybody. You know, if you really want a good deal on a good product, shop. Well, they won't give me a price. Sit down and negotiate one. Don't be chicken and do it over the phone. Go to the dealer, sit in front of them, look them eye to eye, and negotiate a deal. Well, I still want too much money. I'm going to wait until it crashes. Then you're never going to RV. You're never going to build the memories. See, this is the problem that I have with folks like this. My problem with you folks like this that are stubborn beyond all stubborn is you don't realize that you'll go to bed and you're 30 years old screaming that you're not going to do anything until something crashes. Or until prices come down completely where I can buy it for what I used to buy it for in 1985. And then you blink and you're 75 years old and can't do anything. And you watch your whole life blow by you. Because an RV or a boat or an off-road vehicle is just not a smart financial decision because Gordon Ramsay said so, or whatever his name is, Dave Ramsey, or whatever the hell his name is. They do. But the problem isn't the young people, Mike. The young people understand this. When I talk to people that are in college, that I pick up an Uber and talk to them about it, they completely understand it. It's guys my age, 40 and above, that are like in this assumption world that, oh yeah, everything's going to crash. No idea of how basic economics work, that supply and demand is a very small portion of how an economy works. It affects the economy, but there's other things that are in place. Cutting manufacturing, availability of parts, availability of labor, inflation, deflation, price of fuel. Not everything is about how much you have and how much demand there is. There's so many other moving pieces. And it's the middle-aged guys to the guys that are in their 60s that want to argue with me. And it's like, go ahead, argue with me. But here's my thing about this whole thing. When I'm telling you guys this on this podcast, okay, let me ask a question. How many times have I been wrong? 3 years. How many times have I been dead set wrong? I can't think of one yet. I predicted in June that the Federal Reserve would change course at the end of the year and not drop rates as much in 2025. What just happened the other day? Jerome Powell said he's not going to drop rates as much in 2025 as he originally predicted. But you guys, all, not everybody, but the audience told me, you're smoking crack. Didn't you hear what frickin' Jerome Powell said today? He said he's going to drop rates dramatically in 2025 into 2026. And then Jerome Powell comes out and says, yeah, we're not going to be doing that. Why did I say that? I said it in June because there were factors already in the economy from his first rate cut that was telling the world that inflation was going to go back up. And that mortgage rates would not be impacted significantly. And I was told I'm an idiot. Well, I'll tell you one thing. It brought back a lot of subscribers because now we're back up over 4,500. We dropped down to like 3,980 and now we're back up over 4,500. So obviously people recognize that I'm not an idiot. We can all see this. I'm not a magician with a magic ball. We can all see it if we look beyond the propaganda media. Yeah, yeah, Theo, I agree with that. Every 8 years, yeah. But a recession, no reply, doesn't mean prices crash. That's the difference. We've been in a recession since August of 2022. We haven't gotten out of it. They just didn't make it official yet. In 5 years from now, they'll make it official. Oh yeah, you remember that recession we went through for 2 years? I can't take Jerome Powell seriously anymore. He tells you he's not going to cut rates, but he tells you the economy's strong. He's so full of crap because he knows if he comes out and says the economy's bad, the stock market's going to take a bigger crap than it did the other day. A lot bigger crap. The taxpayer bailout, taxpayer/government bailout, I think will start right around summer of this coming year. It's not going to be like it was in 08, 09 where they're bailing out GM and Ford and all these places. The bailout is going to be the government buying all of this repossessed inventory at retail book. The banks are going to take a loss, but not a big loss. And because I told the guys that I'm helping out over here in Northern California, I told all of them, I said, you guys, I know you guys are looking forward to auctions and prices dropping in auctions. And I said, you guys don't realize nobody, including Camping World, is ever going to see that inventory. Not going to happen. You might see a little bit of it, but all the COVID inventory, from trucks to cars to Jeeps to motorhomes to trailers. Once that one more wave of voluntary repossessions comes into play, you'll never see it. You might see your 2016s, your 2015s, your 2019s, but 2020 inventory to 2023 inventory, you'll never see it. Used, you'll never see it. Unless you buy it from private party or unless it's a street buy, but you're never going to see that mass repossessed inventory like I remember 2 years ago, people were telling me, well, I'm just waiting because, everybody's going to start giving this stuff back to the bank. So I'm just going to wait till I can buy it at auction prices. Housing is different. We're talking about vehicles. Housing is not going to crash like it did in 08-09. It will correct itself. It'll correct itself in a downward trend, but it's not going to crash. The only thing that may crash, and more than likely is going to crash, is commercial real estate. Commercial real estate is probably going to crash because there's $2.7 trillion in commercial loans that are coming due in 2025. They're maturing. And because these guys borrowed the rate at 2% and the rate's like somewhere around 6 or 7%, it no longer pencils out because the income didn't go up. Grant Cardone does a great video on it. So you're going to see these guys having to be forced to sell and take big hits on commercial real estate. So if you got $40-50 million in the bank, you can pick up some commercial real estate for 50 cents, 45 to 50 cents on the dollar next year, probably into 2026. Yes, no reply. You'll never see it. You'll never see that inventory crash in price. Ram, Ford, Chevy, they will, all the car manufacturers, all the dealerships, when they close their doors and when it goes to the auction, it's going straight to the government. Straight there. The real estate people can't sell their house to the federal government, but the banks can sell all the vehicles to the military, the Coast Guard, which is still the military, National Guard, FEMA, California Emergency Services, state emergency agencies, county emergency agencies. It'll be a big taxpayer bailout. Why? Because if watch this, no reply. Okay. Watch this. This will blow your mind. If, we'll use Nissan as an example, a Nissan Sentra that was purchased at $40,000 in 2021, if tomorrow Nissan sells that Sentra brand new at 2024 for $10,000, the voluntary repossession of Nissan Sentras that were purchased in the last 5 years will absolutely go through the roof. Okay? Nissan Titan. If you bought a Nissan Titan at $100,000 in 2021 and Nissan decides to lower the price to $20,000 on a 2024 brand new truck, you will see a mass voluntary repossession of those trucks. It will bankrupt the United States of America. It will bankrupt everybody. People will lose jobs. Banking and credit will be frozen. It will be, excuse my language, It'll be fucking Armageddon. That's why it will never happen. Not the way people want it to happen. The banks will protect themselves and protect as good as they can the value of vehicles, because otherwise a bank, let me put it this way, if you think 08, 09 was bad with the mortgage-backed securities and all that stuff, if vehicles ended up crashing in price that bad, the US dollar would go to zero real quick. Banks would close their doors. Credit unions would close their doors, and you would never be able to access your money. Your gold, your silver, your Bitcoin would be worth jack shit. So they'll never let it happen. It'll never happen. What it's going to take is interest rates to come down. At some point, there has to be a stimulus. For people to go out, people in general are not cash buyers. 88.4% of vehicle sales are done through financing. People can't afford the payment. Let's put it this way. During COVID, people didn't give a holy crap about paying 30 grand over sticker for a truck because the payment was affordable. Now interest rates are sky high. They can't afford the payment. They don't care what the price is. The price could be $25,000, but if the payment's $750, they're not going to buy it. If the car sells for $50,000, but the payment's $425, they're going to buy it. Yeah, that's why I keep saying this is going to be a government and taxpayer funded bailout for the banks. And it's going to be done through purchasing these bad deals at retail book. And I don't know what they're going to do with the vehicles. They might just scrap them. They might take parts out of them to fix other things that are on their lots already. But FEMA's going to end up selling all their old stuff, but that's not going to crash prices. That's just going to bring some cheaper inventory into focus, but it's been severely used. I've purchased some of that stuff before. They're not in bad shape, but you can smell that they've been in a fire or near a smoke area. Some of them, I could tell, have rust really bad because they were in a hurricane zone. Does it mean they're bad? No. It's just like they were cheap and easy, and banks will finance them. I remember buying Coleman's from FEMA. This is 2017. Bunch of Coleman travel trailers from FEMA. We were able to get them for like 5 or 7 grand. They were like 9 years old. We cleaned them up, did the best we could, doing whatever we could, sold them for $11,000, between 11 and 12 grand. Payments were $120 a month on a 5 or 10 or on a 10-year note. And we could do them zero down because we were in them so far back a book. We could go to the credit unions and do zero down. There will be deals like that, but deals like that are going to be on old inventory. Deals like that are going to come because FEMA bought a bunch of shit from the banks and then auctioned off their old stuff. So I don't think people understand that when the government steps in on this, it's going to be quiet. You're not even going to know it happened. You're just going to wake up one day, drive down the lot that you've been seeing, hey, look at all those repossessions. And then one day you're going to go, where'd all the repossessions go? Oh, they must have bought a bunch of them at the auction. Let me go shopping. I'm going to get a $100,000 truck for 15 grand. And you go online. Hey, why are prices still high? When interest rates go down, cars will move off the lot again. You can offer everybody every incentive in the world. As long as interest rates are high, people are not going to buy cars. You have to stimulate the economy. They're not ready to do that yet. Right now, buying a car, buying an RV, buying a boat, buying a power sports thing is not for middle class America. It's right now for upper middle class and rich. This is the market for cash buyers. Of course, all the cash buyers are sitting there going, I'm going to wait. I'm going to get me one for 10 cents on the dollar. I'm going to get one for 5 cents on the dollar. That Toyota Tundra, that brand new 2024 Toyota Tundra that's sitting on the lot, they're going to take it from 80 grand down to 15 grand in just a few months. I just got to be patient. It's nuts that we don't have common sense, that we don't think of things. We don't think of what the consequences of actions are. We only look at what we want to do. We only look at what affects our life only. Okay? I'm a homeless sucker. I'm as homeless as you can get. Still working. Still trying to make it. Yet when I look and drive around and I see fire barrels and tent cities all over, I don't sit there and complain that, oh my God, look at all these homeless people. They're ruining the market. They're ruining this. They're pissing and crapping everywhere. No, I look at that and go, if prices crashed that bad in the vehicle market, half of us would be in the same boat. Maybe more. So if you wish that upon man, if you wish that upon your fellow Americans, then continue to pray for a price crash. Now, if you're looking for a deal, your patience will pay off in the housing market. Are you going to pay, if you go to buy a house, are you going to get for half of the value of what it sold a couple years ago? No. When these companies dump their housing position because Airbnb and Vrbo is going to become illegal in a lot of cities and states across the U.S., will you be able to buy those houses for 80 cents on the dollar? Maybe. Will you buy them for 85 cents on the dollar? Very possible. Will you buy them around 90 cents on the dollar? More than likely. That would probably be the best case scenario. So if you combine getting 90 cents on the dollar for a nice house with interest rates going down, when they go down, you can buy a nice house, have a good mortgage payment, and not overpay. But if you're waiting for 2008, 2009 again, the way things are going, no one will have the money or the credit to buy this stuff. It'll be a nuclear meltdown of epic proportions. The Great Depression. Here, I'm going to read you something about the Great. I read about this the other day. Where did I put that sentence? There it is. Okay. I read this the other day. This was a little disturbing. The unemployment rate during the Great Depression is estimated to be higher than originally published back in the 1940s. Unemployment was measured differently during the 1920s and 1930s than they are today. The estimated real unemployment rate of the Great Depression of the United States of America was close to 60%, which means that close to 6 out of every 10 working-bodied Americans could not find full-time work in the United States from 1929 to 1942. 13 years it hovered between 45 and 60% unemployment. I read that yesterday. And it made me think, if people in general, grocery prices come and go, gasoline prices come and go, that stuff isn't financed by banks. The day-to-day operations of those businesses are financed, but they're also insured. Vehicle sales is not insured like a house, like a commercial piece of real estate. Very different. We've lost the 99-cent store. We've lost Big Lots. We're going to lose a bunch. And if prices crash that bad, if what you guys want happens, God bless you. I hope you're in a position where you own your home free and clear, can afford every year to pay the property tax, nothing goes wrong with your health, nothing interrupts your income, and I hope to God all that silver, gold, and Bitcoin you bought doesn't go to zero. Yeah. Alexander, that stuff doesn't work, man. So you would think that would make sense, but there's countries out there that tried the whole thing of, a high minimum wage, low housing income. It didn't work. There's places around the world that have tried that. Yeah, it's not good. Not good at all. There's countries all over the world that have tried socialist, liberal stuff. Doesn't work. Even ones that were full socialists that got bailed out by other governments and everything else are not full socialists anymore. Canada is a perfect example of what happens when you're a full socialist country with universal health care. That sucks. They are worse shape than we are. You're going to have to, Alexander, you can't look at short-term stuff. You got to look over what has worked over the last 500 years. What countries are still around? What kind of economies are still around after 500 years? the only ones that are still around are capitalist. There's several countries in Africa that have been basically a type of capitalism. They're going okay. Socialist countries, socialist ideas, capping housing prices, capping anything like that doesn't help anybody, because that's not a free market. That's government control over your life. That's not helpful. A form of capitalism does. A form of capitalism is what it's called now, but there was a form of capitalism that has made it through the ages. Okay? When government steps away, when you have a small government, like a lot of countries have had in the past and in the future, when you have a small government that doesn't control its people and what they can do and how much they're paid and how much they got to pay for this and how much they got to pay for that, small government equals less taxes. Less taxes, less socialist programs, less social programs, the more people have to go work. The more people have to go work, the more it stimulates an economy. When you have half of your people, this is why the Great Depression was so screwy, is when you have close to half your people sitting at home doing nothing and not being productive and being given money. I'm homeless. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm not looking for a handout. I'm rebuilding my life. I don't think I'd have the motivation to rebuild my life if I got a check from welfare. I just sit around and complain all day of how life sucks and everybody and their mom is so expensive. That's fine, Alexander. You don't have to be here on the podcast. That's the great thing. You don't have to. It's all good. You're never going to get me to agree with you, because I know what you're never going to win this argument with me. You're never going to convince me that capping housing prices and capping housing rents is going to be the best thing ever. Never going to happen. We've given government control before, and they screwed us. The 1970s, with hyperinflation under Jimmy Carter. We've done that already. All right. We're just going to silence you for a while. I don't normally do that, but that's just spam, 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 spam. Let me tell everybody, well, I'm right and everybody's wrong. Where I live is a lot better than everybody else. Where I live, you only pay $600 and the government controls every aspect of my life. Okay, cool. I don't believe in it. Never going to convince me. It's time for breakfast anyway. So anyway, final thought. The RV, and so now that you know that prices on vehicles are never going to crash the way you want to, if you're ready, willing, and able, the next 60 days are going to be so important that when you buy an RV, you'll get a better price in the next 60 days than you will in the spring or summer of 25. And after spring, summer of 2025, prices are going to steadily climb because profit margins have to climb. Because, let me put it this way, Camping World even as big as they are, they can't go through another year like this year. They can't go 3 years in a row losing money. Can't happen. So next year, you're going to see dealership profits start going up in spring and summer of 25, because that's the way they're going to survive, is by making profit, making money. 60-day window, guys. If you haven't already bought, you got 60 days. Go out and shop. Go out and build memories. We got one life to live, and that's it. So until next time, remember, toolkit and sense of humor. I'll see you guys on the main channel tomorrow. If not, have a good weekend.